Hello, and welcome to Chapter 3 of the M-STEP Test Administration Training Series. I am Phoebe Gose, the M-STEP Test Administration and Reporting Consultant. In this presentation, I will be discussing after-testing M-STEP tasks. I will begin this presentation with packaging and return of materials, along with information about secure materials destruction. Next, I will review the accountable students and test verification procedures, which include verification of enrollment and demographics, verification of answer documents, and verification of not tested students. I will end by discussing preliminary reports availability and final reports. In this section, I will review the appropriate ways to handle test materials after testing. Some secure materials must be destroyed after testing. In online testing, this includes test tickets and rosters, and all scratch paper and graph paper used. For paper pencil testing, all scratch paper and graph paper must be securely destroyed. First language glossaries used for math and unused science and social studies answer documents must also be securely destroyed. Also, any unused reporting code sheets, any unused orange special handling envelopes must also be securely destroyed. This table is on page 81 and is continued on page 82 of the M-STEP Test Administration Manual. It lists which materials should be returned to the M-STEP contractor, what schools should keep, and what schools must destroy. Page 81 describes how to process secure test materials, and page 82 describes how to process non-secure materials. Materials to return to the M-STEP contractor include all used answer documents, unused ELA and math answer documents, the orange special handling envelope, all used and unused test booklets, any accommodated versions of the test, and ELA listening CDs and scripts. Items to be securely destroyed, as discussed on the previous slide, are also listed here. You will find the second page of this table on page 82 of the M-STEP Test Administration Manual. This page describes how to process non-secure test materials. Any used reporting code sheets need to be returned to the M-STEP contractor in the orange special handling envelope. However, any unused reporting code sheets can be securely destroyed. Also, unused science and social studies answer documents and unused orange special handling envelopes are again listed here and must be destroyed. To be stored at the district for 3 years are the signed OSA security compliance forms and seating charts. Schools or districts can determine how to handle test administration manuals and directions. This diagram is on page 87 of the M-STEP Test Administration Manual. It details how to pack scorable materials in the scorable materials box for return of materials. If used, the orange special handling envelope is placed on top. Next are any used reporting code sheets. The remainder of materials must be packed in grade level order, with the science and social studies tests placed on top when applicable, followed by ELA and then math. Be sure to refer to the Test Administration Manual instructions on pages 81 to 87 to ensure correct packing of materials. In this section, I will discuss the accountable students and test verification process. Dates and descriptions for each of these windows in the secure site will be reviewed. Verification of enrollment and demographics is open now until June 22nd. Verification of answer documents window is open June 15 to 22. And verification of not tested students window is open June 15 to 29. First, I will begin with the verification of enrollment and demographics window, which is currently open and will close June 22nd, 2017. The accountable students and test verification windows, verification of enrollment demographics, verification of answer documents, and verification of not tested, are all done through the secure site. After you have logged into your secure site account, hover over the Student Assessments tab and select Accountable Students and Test Verification. That will bring you to this screen. Search for the appropriate test period, ISD, district, and school, and that will bring up your tasks. Once here, you select the task you are working on to go to that screen. This slide is an overview to-do list of the verification of enrollment and demographics window. check for new or exited students, verify that expelled students have been exited, check for any missing UICs, check for students with an enrolled UIC, tested UIC conflict, verify student demographics, verify student grade levels, and verify that students who are taking the MyAccess assessment are flagged as special education students. Verification of enrollment is currently open and remains open through June 22nd. The Verification of Enrollment and Demographics section is located in the Accountable Students and Test Verification function in the Secure site under the Student Assessments menu at the top of the screen. This is the last opportunity that schools and districts have to update student enrollment and demographic information in MSDS for assessment and accountability purposes. This information is available for grades 3 through 8 and 11, and it is required for grade 12. On this slide, and the next 3 slides, I will discuss the student demographics that are pulled from MSDS. First, special education. A student will show as special education if it is submitted by any district. This could be from another district that is not your district. Next are migrant students, which again will show as a migrant student if submitted by your district or if submitted by another district. This data is collected in the Michigan Migrant Educational Database System, which is then pulled into MSDS and then pulled from MSDS into the Secure site. Depending on the timing, schools may be able to correct this data by contacting field services at the number listed on this slide. Homeless status. Again, a student identified as homeless by any district will be designated homeless in MSDS. Once a student has been identified as homeless, then that designation remains for the full school year. The economically disadvantaged student demographic is also pulled from MSDS. A student is identified economically disadvantaged if identified as any from the list: migrant, homeless, free and reduced lunch, or direct certification from the Department of Health and Human Services. As with homeless students, once identified as economically disadvantaged, the student will remain identified economically disadvantaged for the full school year. English learners are also pulled from MSDS. English learners are still referred to as LEP, Limited English Proficient, in the Secure site. Again, once submitted as an English learner, the student remains an English learner until they are eligible to exit from English learner status. A student can only be exited from MSDS as an English learner after becoming proficient, according to the criteria outlined in Michigan's entrance and exit protocol. The EL designation will show even if submitted by another district. A student who has exited from an English learner program in a prior school year is identified as formerly Limited English Proficient or former English learner. This designation remains for 2 school years and cannot be changed because it is a calculated designation based on the date exited from English learner status. Student data that is not corrected by June 22nd cannot be appealed at a later date. Instructions can be found on the Secure Site Training website at www.michigan.gov/securesitetraining. Select Accountable Students and Test Verification All Students. In this section, I will discuss the Verification of Answer Documents window, which is open June 15 to 22, 2017. Verification of Answer Documents is open June 15 to 22, and the screen is in the Accountable Students and Test Verification function under the Student Assessments menu on the Secure site. This window gives schools the opportunity to verify the receipt and processing of paper, pencil, and online answer documents, along with other information. This slide is a to-do list of what needs to be done during the verification of answer documents. Verify that all tests and answer documents and any missing answer documents must be reported at this time. Verify prohibited behavior and non-standard accommodation flags are accurate. These flags invalidate test scores. Verify that out-of-level flags are accurate. This flags a student who took a different grade level test than the grade reported in MSDS, and it invalidates the test score. Submit any combine requests for students who are displayed on multiple rows. Submit move requests for any student listed as tested, but whom your school did not test. Schools may submit a missing test or missing student issue. For any missing test or missing student issue, a scanned image of the seating chart must be included. You should not report a test as missing that was not taken at your school. Schools may submit a move issue during this window. This function should only be used for students who are listed as having tested at a school, but they did not test at the school. Students who did test at your school and then moved remain where the student tested. A move issue should not be submitted in these cases. Schools can submit a combine issue if a student is listed multiple times for different content areas. This can happen if a student tests using 2 different barcode numbers. Students marked prohibited behavior should be verified during the verification of answer documents window. If there is an incorrectly marked prohibited behavior, the school can submit an appeal with information including why it was marked and why it should not have been marked during this window. Students marked with a non-standard accommodation should be verified during this window. If marked with a non-standard accommodation in error, an appeal should be submitted that includes information about why it was marked and why it should not have been marked. Out-of-level tests should also be verified. An out-of-level test is identified if a student tests in a grade level that is different than what was submitted in MSDS. If it is incorrect in MSDS, it can be corrected in MSDS. If it is correct that a student tested out of level, then you do not need to do anything more. Out-of-level tests are invalid, and this error cannot be fixed. Any answer document issues that are not reported by June 22 cannot be appealed at a later date. This is the only opportunity to review and report answer document issues for possible resolution. Instructions are available on the Secure Site Training and Documents website at www.michigan.gov/securesitetraining. Select Accountable Students and Test Verification, All Students. Next, I will discuss the Verification of Not Tested window, which is open from June 15 to 29, 2017. The Verification of Not Tested window is June 15 to 29, 2017. Verification of Not Tested is in the Accountable Students and Test Verification function under the Student Assessments menu on the Secure Site. This is the final list of accountable students and received answer documents. If there are any reasons the student did not test, schools must submit the reason that the student did not test in order for MDE to review for any possible accountability exemptions and for other federal reporting. This is a to-do list for the Verification of Not Tested window. Submit a not tested reason for all students indicated as not tested on the Verification of Students Not Tested report. A not tested reason of missing test will only be accepted for records that are flagged as missing during the verification of answer documents. This allows the testing contractor the opportunity to search and find any missing answer documents. A record with no reason submitted during the not tested window will be assigned a reason of absent, and this will not be approved for accountability exceptions. Student demographics and rosters cannot be changed once the verification of enrollment window has closed. Students with disabilities who would otherwise be assessed using MyAccess, Participation, or Supported Independence in Social Studies must take a locally determined social studies test and provide information about the local assessment, which is reported as a local alternate social studies issue. Reporting the local alternate social studies issue identifies that MyAccess, Participation, and Supported Independent students met the social studies participation requirement. There is a list available of not tested reasons in the drop-downs. Schools must select the best reason from these available reasons. Be sure to prepare for this before the end of the school year. Documentation from teachers may be necessary, and since this window is June 15 to 29, schools may not have all necessary staff available within these dates. If there is not a suitable reason listed in the drop-down for your situation, email mde-accountability@michigan.gov with the information for your situation. For student privacy, be sure to only use the student UIC number in an email, no student names. There's a full list of not tested reasons available on the Secure Site Training and Documents site at www.michigan.gov/securesitetraining. Select Accountable Students and Test Verification, All Assessments. In this section, I will discuss the preliminary and final reports. The preliminary reports are currently available and will remain available until final reports are released. They are accessed through the secure site by selecting the Reports drop-down and then selecting Dynamic Score Reports. The preliminary reports include only machine-scored items. They do not include any hand-scored items. And it is also important to remember that preliminary data is for school use only and may not be shared with the public. Schools must treat this as embargoed data. More detailed information about the preliminary reports and the data in the preliminary reports is available in the Guide to Preliminary Reports, available on the MSTEP webpage at www.michigan.gov/mstep under the Reports section. This is an example of the preliminary report. The preliminary scale score is plotted as below or above benchmark. Proficiency designations, that is, not proficient, partially proficient, proficient, and advanced, are not available until the final score reports. Math and ELA claim performance indicators are included in the reports, again based on preliminary data. Science and Social Studies raw scores, that is, points earned out of points possible, are reported based on machine-scored items. Preliminary reports will remain available until final reports are released. Final reports will be available in mid to late August. Be sure to watch the Spotlight for details. If you do not currently receive the Spotlight in your email each Thursday, go to the MSTEP webpage at www.michigan.gov/mstep and scroll down to the Spotlight icon to sign up. These are some helpful links. Best Practices MSDS Reporting Guide for Trouble-Free Accountability Data, Secure Site Training, the Secure Site link, and the MSTEP webpage link. If you have any further questions about the 2017 test administration, please send an email to baa@michigan.gov, or you can call 1-877-560-8378 and select the appropriate option. Thank you for joining me in this presentation.